I'd like to challenge your viewers to do something right now, as they're watching this, to go in the comment section and write like 3, 4, 5 of their favorite African presidents, dead or alive. Let them go and write. Africa has had about 500 elections.
Wow.
Out of those 500 or so elections, we have ended up with about 380 presidents and a few prime ministers. Surely there has to be something wrong with that system then.
Democracy.
Yeah. Because it has given us 380 people that were mostly bad for us, that have actually left Africa poorer. That Western-style democracy will mostly reward you if you're extremely loud, extremely violent, or extremely rich. Yeah. Now, a lot of great leaders are neither of those things. They are not violent. They are not extremely rich. Neither are they extremely loud. Great question, and I dare say, really, really important. In fact, if people watch only a segment of this show, it should actually be this one, because now this one is completely solution-oriented. Remember, I said we cannot afford to just diagnose and leave it there. We've got to prescribe and then work on that prescription. Now, I'd like to challenge your viewers to do something right now, as they're watching this, to go in the comment section and write like 3, 4, 5 of their favorite African presidents, dead or alive. Let them go and write. The reason I want them to do that is because I want to remind you, viewers, that out of about 500 elections, we have ended up, now remember, now that's democracy, Western-style democracy. Africa has had about 500 elections.
Wow.
Out of those 500 or so elections, we have ended up with about 380 presidents and a few prime ministers. Because most of Africa, they have executive presidents. Now, go write your leaders, your favorite. I suspect that most of you, if not all of you, the people that you're going to write are going to be roughly 10 people. So same 10 people. You're going to see Patrice Lumumba there. You're going to see Traoré there. You're going to see Sankara. Those who are still alive, you're going to see maybe Duma Boko, Botswana's president. You may see John Mahama, the second version of John Mahama, seems to be doing good stuff. Yeah. So you're going to see the same 10, at most 15 names, recurring over and over again. That is out of about 380 people. So ask yourself, just like we did for the coup d'etat, 100, but only 5 or so turn out to be good. Democracy, those who've come through the ballot box, it's an even smaller percentage that has ended up truly serving the African people. So ask yourself something. Surely there has to be something wrong with that system then.
Democracy.
Yeah. Because it has given us 380 people that were mostly bad for us, that have actually left Africa poorer. Folks in Africa who died in the 60s and 70s, if by chance they rise up today, they might say, let me go back to where I've just come from. Because they'll realize, oh my God, you people are poorer than how we were. What does that say about the presidents who've been leading this continent?
You
see. So, before you rush to blame the electorate, it cannot be that for 70 years, from the late 50s to now, 2026 February, it cannot be that all these millions of Africans over 7 decades just can't choose good leaders. It can't be that way at all. Because I know that sometimes, even I usually say people get leaders that they deserve. Sometimes it is interpreted to mean that it is we, the electorate, that keep voting for bad leaders. But whereas there's truth in that, it is also because of the ballot box. Because Western-style democracy often rewards the loudest leaders it often rewards the richest leaders.
Okay.
There's a reason even leaders like Hakainde Hichilema, you know, I have my beef with him nowadays, but he's a guy who ran for presidency so long. Eventually he won and, you know, he started doing some good stuff. I will never understand why he had to go for for Samia Suluhu's swearing in. It was basically just him and I think the Somalia president. I will never understand why he had the audacity to say when he attended to tell Tanzanians, you people, you shouldn't be demonstrating, you know. Yeah, but the point is that he's also a very rich fellow.
Okay.
I suspect that if he didn't have the money that he has, he would never have been able to run for president that many times. So I hope we can appreciate that Western-style democracy will mostly reward you if you're extremely loud, extremely violent, or extremely rich.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, a lot of great leaders are neither of those things. They are not violent. They are not extremely rich. Neither are they extremely loud.
Yeah.
People who knew Dedan Kimathi, and I was just telling you earlier that we need to ensure that the world, most of Africa, appreciates that he was literally on the same level with the Sankaras of Africa.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And the other day I talked to the lady who knew Dedan Kimathi, who used to sit in the same room with him, who used to serve him food. And one of the things she said, Orina, was that Dedan Kimathi was a very quiet guy. That doesn't fit the description of a very loud leader. Dedan Kimathi was not very rich. He was not even rich. Thomas Sankara was not rich. So if Dedan Kimathi had run for president under the Western-style democracy, I would bet that he would not even be among the top 3. Because Western-style democracy would not reward a leader like him.
Of course.
At all. So, yes, you have a lot of Africans who vote for people because their second names are like theirs. They're from the same tribal region. Yes, you have Africans who vote for presidents because they were given handouts. But as I apportion blame to them, I also apportion blame to the Western-style democracy that will only reward you if you then give out handouts. Or if you have goons who will terrorize the people. See what Mohozi is doing in Uganda. You know, they literally went and arrested, or a more accurate term would be abducted, the agents of the National Unity Platform. That's democracy, yeah? Because, if you are not that violent, then you can't win. You see?
Okay.
So, I feel that the one area that we Africans have not shed enough light on is on the fact that the Western-style democracy is inherently flawed. Inherently flawed, completely. Now, having said that, what's the solution? Remember that until the late 50s, there had never been an election, a Western-style election in Africa. Never. Until the late 50s, when we started gaining independence, when Ghana becomes the first sub-Saharan African country to be independent. So how could it be, Orina? Are we saying that we will only focus on what started happening in terms of governance 70 years ago? Are we completely wishing away, or rather sweeping away every other governance system in Africa before the late 50s is invalid, is useless? Is that what we are saying? Now, to show you why we cannot dare to behave like that, and that's how we've been behaving since the late 50s, you just have to look at northern Kenya. You just have to look at Ethiopia, the Oromo people. Current president of Ethiopia is from the Oromo community. You just have to look at how the governance structure, the traditional governance structure in the Oromo people. Anybody watching this, just go and Google Oromo traditional governance structure, and you will see for yourself. But let me make it a bit easier for you by explaining to you how it used to work very briefly. The different age sets amongst the Oromo had their own internal leadership structures that rewarded natural leaders or willing leaders, or those who are willing to learn as leaders. It's sort of like when you go to play football, you don't, as kids, you never used to say, okay, now we're voting for you as our captain. As you're playing football and some amongst you, are better in field coaching, saying, no, pass the ball there. Okay, do this. That's something inherent or something acquired. But even if it is acquired, the more you're playing football together, the more it is coming out among some of you. And then before you know it, you have a leader that you all agree that this fellow is like our great captain here. So the Oromo had a system where the different age sets had internal systems of selecting leaders in that age set, of equipping those leaders, and then these leaders would work collaboratively with leaders from other age sets.
Okay.
In other words, there was no ageism.
All right.
That says that just because you're young, you're a great leader.
Okay.
Or just because you're old, you're a great leader. Or, the pendulum swings on either extreme. So now there's a notion, people also seem to think that any leader who is young will automatically be a good leader, which is not necessarily the case.
Yeah. And that's what I said during the Gen Z protest.
Yes.
Because everybody was romanticizing young people.
Exactly.
We have young fools, right?
Yes.
That's what I told every single...
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So the Oromo people didn't have ageism, but from the time you're a child to the time you become a teenager, a young adult, a middle-aged adult, a senior citizen, they had a very clear system that encouraged, nurtured, and rewarded leadership over all this. And then they had a system where there would be a team of leaders emerging from these age sets. And these leaders, notice that they were not elected in a singular electoral cycle because the ballot box is not even existing, even though they have their own ways of collaborating with nature, with different cohorts, different generations, to nurture and mentor different leaders. And then the apex leaders would still only rule for a maximum of 8 years. They had an 8-year cycle where once you finish your leadership during these 8 years, the next leadership team simply takes over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, we cannot, even if we had 2 hours, we can literally do a whiteboard and look at that. It even has a name and go deeper into details. But suffice it to say that this was about nurturing leadership from childhood. Okay. This was about ensuring that no singular individual lords it over all of you as the singular messianic leader, or no singular cohort of leaders, team of leaders, can remain leaders for 40 years like Museveni. And notice that it is a team. It's not even a single person. But even then, they have to make way, you see. So if we look at that, if we then sit down with the old Oromo people to understand it even more, because some of them still have that memory of how it used to be, how it still is in some of their, leadership at the village level, we will be able to pick from that very critical principles. We will be able to pick on from that very practical steps on how we can have more Afrocentric leadership that is not just copied and pasted from the West.
Yeah.
Now, there was also something almost similar but different amongst the Igbo people.
Okay.
Where the Igbo people did not have a singular king like other African communities. Picture a scenario where you have like 30 villages in southwestern Nigeria that the Igbo people come from. And each of those villages has their own leader, their own leadership structure, but they are working collaboratively. What that meant is that it was impossible for a given leader of a given village to dictate how this village 20 kilometers from here should live their life. But because they are all Igbos and they are all from the same community, they still had a lot of similarities, even though they nurtured leadership at the village level in multiple villages without having a singular king, a singular ruler. It was the same, roughly the same amongst the Nuer people, South Sudan, and a host of other African communities. So what can we borrow from that? When you look at a federal system like America's, is in reality simply a large-scale version of what the Igbo people were doing, because every state is ruling itself. You know, in the US, even our brother Mamdani Zohran, born in Uganda, that's why I'm calling him our brother, he's the one in charge of the police. Mayors are in charge of the police. And that is a principle that is reflecting what was happening in these Igbo villages. Because Mamdani is in charge of the police, not Donald Trump. Mamdani is in charge of the schools. That's why he's able to talk of free education. It's not Donald Trump. Of course, the federal government has its responsibilities, but the whole federal system was a lot stronger in Africa than it is even in America or Germany. Yet, Africa then ran away from the federal system.
Why?
In favor of colonialism.
Colonialism.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because it was about divide and rule. They needed to have a scenario where Britain or France or Germany or Italy or Spain or Portugal is controlling the entire land as they divided to themselves during the Berlin Conference. So if these traditional forms of governance had been allowed to flourish, that was going to be impossible. Because the people of southwestern Nigeria, multiple villages, would have said, if you guys want to be led by the British, it's up to you. Yeah, we don't even allow an Igbo elder from the next village to lord it over this village. So how on earth, I was about to swear, how on earth are we going to allow a foreigner from thousands of miles away to lord it over us? So one of the worst forms of colonialism, one of the worst impacts of colonialism was to introduce Western governance that then perpetuated and nurtured colonialism. And to date, as long as we maintain the ballot box exactly as it is, no wonder neo-colonialism remains alive and active. What then must we do? And by the way, for those who will say that multiple African communities had kings anyway, I'm going to remind you something. Yes, in Ghana, the Ashanti Kingdom, yes, they had kings, but you know that those kings could be dethroned because there were very strong council of elders that held the kingship accountable. The Queen Mother was very, very powerful, extremely powerful. You see, so it's not like you had a king who could just say, snap their fingers and everybody has to rise up, or snap their fingers and everybody has to roll on the ground. The accountability mechanism was extremely strong. So much so that the king could be dethroned. You see? So even in cases where you had monarchies, a lot of times the accountability mechanism was extremely strong. Nowadays, if we say that, can we hold Ibrahim Traore accountable? Probably a quarter of your viewers are already going to look at you with question marks. And some will even go ahead and brand you, are you becoming an imperialist mole or what? But accountability is as African as it gets. Traditional African societies were as accountable as it gets. Why do you think there were no poor people in traditional Africa? Why do you think there were no homeless people? There were no homeless people because the entire community was accountable for itself, for each other. That's where Ubuntu comes from. I am because we are. We are because I am. That was embedded in traditional Africa at the societal level and at the governance level. So kings couldn't just do whatever the hell they wanted to do because accountability was strong. So the low-hanging fruit is simply this, that as we work towards having this conversation and as we work towards getting rid of Western-style democracy and gradually introducing Afrocentric forms of governance that are practical and truly responsive to the African people, the lowest hanging fruit that all Africans can pluck is this. Can you, at an individual level, start to normalize holding your president accountable, holding your leader accountable? And my challenge to people is this. For the African presidents that you particularly admire, can you hold them to an even higher standard of accountability? I remember I shared with, when Ibrahim Traore accounted to the Burkinabe people and said his government's achievements of 2025, I tried to highlight the same to people so that they can begin seeing beyond the symbol. Do you know, Rina, that today in Burkina Faso, a number of West African countries actually are going for treatment in Burkina Faso.
As we speak?
As we speak, because the healthcare in Burkina Faso is markedly better today.
Oh, wow.
You see?
Wow.
So I am saying the good that is happening, but if tomorrow I also say something like, do the Fulani people in northern Burkina Faso, do they feel like they're being victimized? Do they feel like maybe some of the volunteer forces are treating them like jihadists? If I just pose that question, people should understand that it's all part of just holding Traore accountable. And it is not now suddenly saying that he's fighting the Fulani people. No. That's why I am proudly and happily saying that as Kenyans flock India, you have a case where Nigerians, not necessarily Nigerians, but people from Niger and Malians and, Benin, they are flocking Burkina Faso. And we are celebrating that.
That's good.
You see? But if tomorrow we point out some things that are not happening that should be happening, or we raise certain question marks, people should understand that accountability is embedded in African forms of governance. So, at an individual level, normalize holding all leaders accountable, whether it's the president or at the local council level. Normalize holding all of them accountable. Normalize coming up, strengthening policies that are weakening imperial presidencies, that are strengthening legislatures. Because currently in this Western-style democracy, legislatures are supposed to provide checks and balances for the executive. They usually don't do that because they're compromised. But we can normalize ensuring that the members of parliament, the legislature understands that we're watching. If you guys keep going to bed with the executive, we're watching and we're noting it. Because no constitutions have to change for that to be normalized. This is purely up to the electorate to realize that we can hold these people accountable. And because we can chew gum and hike the stairs, in other words, we can multitask. As we do that, we need to raise the volume of thinking outside the box, specifically thinking outside the ballot box.
So the title of this section is Democracy versus Coups, which is better? from what we've talked about, I think it's none.
None, because they are all, the coups are reactionary. They are reacting to Western-style democracy.
Okay.
So that's why they have not given us transformative presidents. So it's all about thinking outside this ballot box. And if we only focus on coups, we are still confining ourselves to the same ballot boxes. Notice we're not saying that. A lot of haters will say, so what do you want us to do? You know, that's why we've given them 3 examples. Actually 4. Nuer community, South Sudan. The Igbos, southwestern Nigeria. Oromo, Ethiopian, Kenya.
I like that Oromo one.
Yeah.
There's a way I like it. The age sets way of
Exactly.
That's a very practical way of how you can run a society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can we raise the volume of that so that in the next 10 years, you know, in the next 15, 20 years, or even sooner in the case of some countries, we just need a generation, especially people who are below 30 years, to completely start adapting that way of thinking, that it is not written, neither in the Bible nor the Quran, that, oh ye people, you must adhere to Western-style democracy. Then why are we chaining ourselves to that? That's stupid. Let's stop doing that. Decolonize our minds.
Decolonize our minds.
Yeah.
Wow. Oof, this was heavy. Of course, DJ brings the knowledge and wisdom everywhere you go. Hey, DJ, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
You know,
welcome,
give your last word.
Yeah.
On what we've talked about.
Yeah.
And an encouragement to Africans who are watching. By the way, I always say this, my audience is majorly African diaspora.
Yeah.
Is African Americans, Africans in Europe, Africans in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Where they shout out to Jamaica. Jamaicans really watch my stuff.
Yeah.
And Kenya is very low in my demographic.
Yeah.
Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa.
Yeah.
So, but you know, we're all Africans.
Exactly.
We're all Africans at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What can you say to the black race right now?
Yeah.
You're looking at this camera.
Great. Jamaica, Wagwan. We are family. The entire Caribbean, we are family. Across Europe, you know, whether you're British, black British, our brothers and sisters in France, the United States of America, you know, if you're watching from New York, Washington, wherever you are, we are all part of the African family, whether you're in the motherland or in the diaspora. Your blood flows in me and my blood flows in you. Now, understand one thing. As long as you're African, it is incumbent on us as African people to transform Africa today. And one of the things we will have to do to transform Africa is addressing African governance. African governance. From the late 50s to now, February 2026, Africa has chained itself to Western-style democracy. And Africa has made the fatal assumption that the ballot box will always act on the voice of the people, when in fact it does not. And in the few cases that it does, the voice of the people is then stifled soon after they vote. And they have to wait for 4 more years, 5 more years to speak again. That is not African. We cannot bind ourselves to a form of governance that only began 70 years ago, when Africa is as old as life on earth. In fact, the cradle of mankind. So we must decolonize our minds from imagining that the only way we can have great leadership, transformative leadership, is through the ballot box. We have given you evidence today. We have made it clear that out of about 500 elections and about 380 presidents over the last 70 years, there are less than 10 presidents that have been truly transformative. That is all the evidence you need. And for those of you who are now proponents of coup d'etats, understand that they are simply reactions to the Western-style democracy. which is why out of about 100 successful coup d'etats, we have only ended up with less than 10 truly transformative presidents. So clearly, a time has come for Africans to think outside the ballot box. And we have given you evidence today that traditional Africa had powerful forms of governance that we simply need to look at and adapt to today's realities and today's needs. We must do that. And this show, this channel, Selling Africa to Africans, that I urge all of you to subscribe if you haven't, is playing its part to ensure that this conversation becomes even louder and louder and louder. And that is what transforming Africa entails. It is not about romanticizing Africa. It is not about being theoretic. That's part of it, but it is not the only part. It is about taking practical steps to transform Africa. So I urge you to take this away with you today, that we must transform the governance systems in Africa so that we stop perpetually focusing on regime change, but remaining with the same destructive, exploitative governance system. We must now ensure that there's systemic change. Thank you very much, and let's keep transforming Africa. We love you.
Wow, thank you, DJ. Thank you. Please come again. There are many things we have to discuss.
Yeah.
There are many things we can address.
Absolutely.
When it comes to Africa. Thank you so much. By the way,
Yes.
your YouTube and your TikTok is very popular. Just plug everything here. Where can people reach you?
Just go to DJ Bwakali. That DJ is not because I was a disc jockey. It's just my name, DJ Bwakali. And that, as you can see on the screen, go to TikTok, DJ Bwakali, Instagram at DJ Bwakali, and YouTube at DJ Bwakali. And while you're at it, consider purchasing my book. It's known as Savannah Footprints. You can also see that on the screen. If you just Google DJ Bwakali Savannah Footprints, it's going to lead you to Amazon, where you can buy the book. And if due to moral reasons you don't buy books from Amazon, just reach out to Selling Africa to Africans, and they'll be able to direct you, sell the digital copy directly to you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Please see that like button, like it, share this video, and most importantly, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Somebody told me that, do I need to pay to subscribe? No, it's free. Just click the subscribe button. You'll be able to be more up to date with everything that I release every day and every week. Thank you so much. God bless. Thank you.